Yeah. Well, so
Yeah.
DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, from my perspective, incontrovertibly positive values. So maybe, presumably, the intent behind these programs was positive. That does not at all mean that how they are actually defined in a particular situation, let alone how they are actually implemented in a particular situation, is positive. What the devil is in the details, to coin a cliche. And as I have followed and examined actual DEI programs, how those goals, how those values are actually defined and how they're actually implemented, they are in many ways completely contrary to what I consider to be true diversity, true equality or fairness, and true inclusion. Number one, most DEI, I shouldn't say most, to the best of my knowledge, of the many programs that I have.
But you've been a professor for a while.
Of the many
now.
programs,
Okay.
but
So
they exist in every university.
that's true.
And I
They're
can't
different.
say,
They're very
yes,
different.
but too many that I have seen, the overwhelming majority that I have seen, define DEI very narrowly. They're looking at diversity with respect to identity and not with respect to ideas or beliefs. And in terms of identity, they're only looking at a certain number of factors, predominantly matters of race and ethnicity and gender and sexual orientation, and not with respect to other matters such as life experience, with respect to religion, with respect to philosophy, with respect to politics, with respect to economic background, and therefore we have campuses that are overwhelmingly the opposite of diverse when it comes to philosophical and political beliefs, and that is very dangerous to the search for truth, which I'm sure is why Jonathan Haidt so strongly opposes not the concept of DEI, but what it actually has devolved into, because he and other social scientists have shown how academic research is undermined by the lack of intellectual and ideological heterodoxy on campus. Secondly, DEI has been implemented in very binary, Manichaean approaches that purport to divide all of us into two categories, oppressor and victim, and then to arbitrarily create these hierarchies, if you will, of people who allegedly have power based on one aspect of their identity. Then they become inherently oppressors and are somehow less worthy in many ways, including their speech should be subject to suppression, versus so-called victims who are, I think, also disadvantaged in many ways, being treated in a very patronizing way, but including being shielded from ideas that are deemed to be insensitive to them. I think part of the reason for the rampant anti-Semitism on campus, Barry Weiss has written about this a lot, is that Jews are lumped together into the oppressor category despite the history of persecution.
They're all the same.
Despite the fact that many Jews are people of color, including many Israelis. And it's so that is the opposite of treating each person with dignity and including each person as a respecting each person as a full-fledged human being. So I wouldn't give up on the aspiration, but I think a big overhaul is needed at the very least.
Okay, so you weren't as far apart as I thought you might be. Let me put it in a little more context, because I think you're really going to be helping us in Chapel Hill, where I suspect that the trustees are going to follow, say, the affirmative action ruling, and that has implications on DEI. It's certainly in admissions. So they're gonna follow the law, even though they lost with your school too, and And so how that trickles down, but it's not just about admissions or hiring. You might have, say, head of a humanities department that says, well, we're going to do that because you tell me I have to, but we're still going to do DEI in my department, whatever that means. What does that mean? What would that mean to you as a professor? I don't know. You fired all the DEI people in the administration, let's say, but some of them move into other areas of the school. And what does the school do with those the good aspirations of DEI?
You know, it's all of these issues that we've been talking about, Doug, including freedom of speech, and having what we consider to be DEI concepts that to me would be consistent with classical liberal principles of individual.